in the line at a truck stop today. There's this big guy in front of me, and he has some apple pie, he has some nachos, he has a can of Pepsi Cola, big one, not diet, and he has 6 or 8 pieces of cheese. You know those small pieces of cheese? Now, does this guy get enough fiber? I don't think so. Next time I go to a truck stop washroom and I need a stall, I don't want to wait for this guy. Like just now, I was at the Flying J, and as usual, they have very tiny washrooms, Twin Falls, Idaho, and there's 3 personal boxes, you know, stalls. Another guy in front of me, we waited 15 minutes. And that's what's wrong with the trucking industry. Don't get me started. You want to know what else is wrong with the trucking industry? Cell phones. Not cell phones and email per se, but the fact that shippers, consignees, and freight brokers, and basically anyone can call me, the driver, anytime they want. Example, I loaded this shit disposable unit in Washington, so there was the shipper, right? Then the Lancer agent got this load from another freight broker, so there's already 2 brokers involved. And then there's this equipment dealer in Ontario, who is the importer, and he actually sold this to a farmer. So basically there's a bunch of people involved, and like being a good boy, I give him my phone number, and yesterday this guy calls me, and I'm like, who are you? Oh, I'm the shipper. I look at the paperwork, my paperwork says, call this number, that's freight broker, the main freight broker, each day before 10 a.m. I call the number, the guy's on vacation in Mexico till January 6th, which is 1 week from now. So this shipper calls me to arrange the crane appointment, and I say, you know, I have no idea when I'm going to be there, you know. So this morning, I get a call from another guy who says he's the representative of the dealer, of the agricultural dealer in Ontario. Now we talk about cranes and stuff like that, but that's what's wrong with this industry. I think it should be illegal for anyone to call the driver after he or she is loaded. It should be like the railroad, you know, like when you give them a container or whatever, any kind of load you give to a railroad, nobody knows when it's going to arrive. It can be weeks, can be months, can be years, right? It's already in the system, so that's all you need to know. Where is it? Can you track it? No, forget it. Once they get it on the other end, they'll give you a call, maybe. So what I suggest is this. I arrive at the shipper, I get loaded, I go to the shipper's office, and I call my agent or the broker and I say, I'm loaded. Don't call me, I will call you. And that's it. There should be a fine, 10,000 rubles, okay, $500 for anyone making a call to me while the load is in transit. So what this will achieve, you'll see in a second. So the shipper says, so when do you think you're going to be there? And I'm like, how the hell should I know? There's bad weather, there's accidents, there's closed roads, equipment failure, cheap diesel, or maybe I don't feel like working, you know, so don't call me, I'll call you. Now, if that was true for the industry, imagine this, right? So shippers give you the load, they have no idea when it's going to be there, but they need it to be there because their customers are calling, right? So I imagine this scenario would result from this. A shipper comes over and he says, how much money do you want to be there the day after tomorrow? And you say, well, I don't know, what do you figure it's worth? And the guy says, $500? And that's already a good number because that's cash, right? But you say, hey, make it 2,000 and I'll call you the minute the load is delivered, the day after tomorrow. So the guy gives you cash. He has a promise from you, from me, that the load will be there, and no one bothers you, right? Because if they call you, you can see on the phone their number, so then you can report them to the Ministry of Transportation, and they will find them, you know. And that's what's wrong with the industry. Too many phone calls, and the driver is too accessible. So we should close that gate. Make the driver like, you know, the king he or she should be, like the railroad. We should follow the model of the railroad. So bad food, no fiber, and cell phones. Now you know what else is wrong with the trucking industry? I'll tell you what else is wrong with the trucking industry. Don't get me started. Trucking companies with no trucks. That's one more thing that's wrong with the trucking industry. Now picture this scenario. You're a freight broker or agent working for a broker, so you get some experience, so you know how the system works. And or maybe you're in dispatch or something, but you know, you're a smart guy or gal, and you figure, wait a second, I can make much more money, right? So you go out and you register your own trucking company. You become a carrier. You have no trucks, but you have all the paperwork, insurance, authority, and you have a name like J&B Freight or CK Logistics, you know, or something trucking. So on paper, it looks beautiful. And you have a website with nice pictures of non-existent trucks. So you're all set to make some good money. So what you do next is you start calling or emailing big freight brokers, like freight forwarders, you know, guys that have lots of freight, and you offer them your services as a trucking company. So you say, hey, I want to be a approved carrier for you guys, you know, here's my lanes, I know the area, you know. So the guys send you a questionnaire and a whole bunch of like requests for paperwork. So you send them your insurance, you know, all your paperwork, boom. They check you out, and now you're an approved carrier. So what happens next, that big broker starts sending you leads or loads, right? But you have no trucks. So what do? You start posting those on the load board where the first broker got them from in the first place. And that creates an extra chain. More money is lost on the way between the shipper and the carrier, the real carrier with the trucks. And that's what's wrong with the industry. Don't get me started. Last but not least, the thing that's wrong with the trucking industry is load boards and freight brokers. Look at the real estate industry. They also have brokers, right? But real estate brokers and real estate agents are much more tightly regulated. You're going to be licensed. You have to go through classes every year, and you have to spend a couple of $1,000 to become a broker or agent. And then you have to work as an agent for another broker for 2 or 3 years before you become a broker, right? And then there's only one load board, pretty much, like a multiple listing service, MLS. And the brokers have contracts. There's always a contract between the seller and the broker, right? And then you look at the trucking industry. We have many load boards. Freight brokers are not regulated the same way like real estate brokers are regulated. You don't need any classes. In some states, like in Canada and Ontario, you don't even need a license. Just anyone can basically hang out the shingle and become a freight broker. And because there's so many load boards, you can find a load on one board and then call that guy or gal and show me a contract you have with your customer, with the shipper. It would not be possible to do that for every load, but occasionally they should audit, those listings. So all load listings should be genuine, should be real, and freight brokers should be licensed, they should be trained. Every year they should go to school, the same way they did this with the real estate profession, because there was a whole bunch of crimes and abuse in that field before as well, right? So they gotta do something here. So, and that's my beef about the trucking industry. So I figure that if we fix these 4 areas, give truckers better food, especially fiber, eliminate calls and emails for the truckers when they're in transit, liquidate all trucking companies that have no trucks of their own, liquidate all load boards but one, the biggest one, and manage the freight broker profession the same way real estate brokers are managed. Then I believe once we do these 4 things, trucking can be fun again. Speaking about Chinese food, what you see here on the main screen, these are probably the last big hills I'm gonna see on this trip.